For over a decade, Spain served as Europe's ultimate economic cautionary tale. In the early 2000s, the country built a massive economic expansion on real estate, funded by a flood of cheap credit from European banks. Developers poured concrete under the assumption that property values would rise forever. When the global financial crisis hit, construction stopped overnight. Millions of half-finished projects were abandoned, leaving the Spanish landscape dotted with ghost towns, neighborhoods built for a future population that never arrived. The human toll of this collapse was staggering. By 2013, 1 in 4 adults could not find work. For young people, the situation was worse. Youth unemployment hit 57%, leaving university graduates locked out of the labor market. In exchange for bailout money, the European Union demanded strict austerity. Spain raised taxes and gutted public services during a recession. The resulting pains sparked massive street protests and triggered a brain drain, as hundreds of thousands of doctors and engineers left for Germany and the UK. These compounded crises left deep scars. The loss of a highly educated workforce, combined with an aging population, cemented a narrative that Spain was a demographically dying nation with little hope for recovery. In May 2024, the Spanish Prime Minister stood at a podium and declared that the national economy is flying like a rocket. This chart shows the GDP growth of major economies in 2024, and the data reflects his confidence. Spain achieved a 3.5% growth rate. That outpaced the United States at 2.8%, doubled France's growth, and stands in stark contrast to Germany, whose economy actually shrank by 0.2%. At the same time, Spain's debt-to-GDP ratio is falling. It has dropped below the 100% threshold for the first time since 2019, and investor confidence is high enough that the country's sovereign risk premiums are sitting at historic lows. These figures exist alongside a lost generation, high structural unemployment, and an ongoing housing crisis. An economy once defined by failure is currently the growth engine of the European Union. Spain's performance rests on a strategic energy pivot that mitigated the shocks felt by its neighbors during the post-COVID energy crisis. When Russian gas supplies to Europe collapsed, countries like Germany faced an industrial nightmare. Spain avoided this trap by utilizing its extensive liquefied natural gas regasification infrastructure. They hold the highest capacity for LNG processing in Europe, allowing them to import gas by ship from anywhere in the world. They paired this gas security with an aggressive expansion into renewables. Today, wind and solar power generate over 50% of Spain's electricity. This independence translates to a practical economic advantage. The cost of electricity for a business in Spain is significantly lower than for a similar business in Germany or Italy, keeping domestic factories running and making Spanish exports competitive. These policies transformed Spain from a vulnerable energy importer into a resilient net exporter of energy, providing a stable foundation for industrial growth. The second growth engine addresses a mathematical problem. Spain has a native birth rate of 1.1, far below the replacement rate. A shrinking population leads to fewer workers and less tax revenue for an aging society. To rapidly reverse this demographic decline, Spain successfully absorbed over 1.2 million foreign-born residents between the years 2022 and 2024. Because a large percentage of these arrivals come from Latin America, integration happens rapidly. A shared language allows these new residents to immediately enter the workforce, filling shortages in the hospitality sector, the massive agriculture industry, and major commercial construction. These new arrivals hold the highest employment participation rates in the European Union. They earn wages, spend at local businesses, and pay the income taxes required to keep the Spanish pension system afloat. While other European nations view immigration as a political crisis, Spain successfully utilized it as a direct injection of labor to inflate their aggregate GDP. The third engine is an evolution within Spain's largest industry, tourism. Currently, tourism accounts for a quarter of the country's new GDP growth. Annual visitor numbers have surpassed 100 million, driven by a strategic move towards luxury, year-round travelers. These premium visitors spend significantly more per day than conventional tourists, injecting billions into the economy without requiring a proportional increase in physical infrastructure. Alongside that foreign spending is a cash injection from the European Union's next-generation recovery funds. Spain is currently absorbing tens of billions of euros in non-repayable grants from Brussels, subsidizing capital investments in green energy, digital infrastructure, and transport modernization. Stacking premium foreign spending on top of European subsidies created an unparalleled influx of external cash to propel the economy forward. Macroeconomic reports show a flawless strategy, but the average Spanish citizen often feels isolated from the Prime Minister's rocket ship economy. This chart shows why. The top line is aggregate GDP, which is growing because millions of new people are participating in the economy. But the bottom line is GDP per capita, the actual slice of the pie for individual citizens. While total output is soaring, purchasing power remains stagnant, growing slower than the rate of inflation. The exact engines powering Spain's growth, record tourism and rapid immigration, have collided to create a severe housing supply deficit. Short-term tourist rentals are often more profitable than long-term leases. As apartments are converted into holiday rentals, the housing stock shrinks. This has priced locals out of their own cities, forcing young workers to spend 50% of their income just to rent a single room. A booming national GDP is an illusion of wealth if the economic gains are absorbed by housing costs and inflation, leaving the middle class poorer at the end of the month. Spain executed an impressive survival strategy. By securing energy, by embracing demographics, and optimizing their tourism model, they outmaneuvered a global crisis and printed world-class growth numbers. But beneath those numbers, structural anchors remain. Spain's labor laws are still rigid, forcing most young workers into precarious, temporary contracts. Productivity remains stagnant, and millions of young adults are trapped living with their parents well into their 30s. Spain proves that a nation can successfully engineer an economic revival on paper, but fixing a country's balance sheet is a fundamentally different task than securing a prosperous future for its citizens.